So, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Buenos días. My name is Doctora Joanna Frey. Yes, in Spanish we get to have a female version of doctor. It's good. And I'm from Clínica Back to the Garden. Yesterday you heard my husband, Dr. Asa Frey. Today's my turn. And I'm going to talk about raising healthy families, right? We've heard so much this weekend about different diseases and the influence of unhealthy lifestyles in our daily living, right? So now it's time to put the information together. Like, what are you going to do with all that information? I have to bring it home, right, and put it into practice. That's the hardest part. So I'm going to give you some strategies today so you can enable yourself to live better and educate people around you, right? And maybe be an influencer in your community. So first of all, I want to thank the NHA for inviting me. And second of all, I feel really grateful because I'm the only Hispanic speaker in this conference. So I have a huge platform on social media. And could you guys just say hello to my Hispanic people? They're actually looking right now. If you can say good morning to them. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. All right, so let me get myself set up here. So this is me and my husband. We have a chronic disease prevention and reversal clinic in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And like I mentioned, we have a big educational platform for Hispanic community. So that means that I'm every single week offering free live conferences through Facebook about all the topics you've heard today and others. I also do cooking demonstrations for free continuously. So if you like to get educated and you want to learn Spanish, this is your moment. Check us out on social media. I'll show you the links at the end. That's pretty much all I do. I love educating, so I'm always educating, and Dr. Frey gets to see all the patients. So we have two kinds of clinics. So when we moved to the island, because I'm from Puerto Rico, but I moved out when I was 19 years old, and I went to college in the States for years and years. And finally, my husband and I said, you know what, let's go back to the island because we saw the need of the information. So we moved there like around 3 years ago, and we opened our first practice, which is an outpatient clinic, and we do the consults there, we do a bunch of conferences, we do healthy clinical cooking workshops. I love to cook. I've been cooking since I was 19 years old, so I love to cook. I'm always making different recipes. I love desserts. So if you go to my channel, you'll see all these different postres, which means desserts. All healthy, so you can get all excited for that. And we also offer chiropractic, but we recently opened our residential center a year ago. Really, with the hurricane, we had to close it down, so it's less than a year. But we have a beautiful home. So on the other side of the wing of the home, we have where patients stay, and they have their own terrace in their backyard in this warm, beautiful weather in Puerto Rico. And we do supervised water fasting. And then we have a very individualized educational program. So Dr. Frey and me are always teaching them, giving them conferences to the patients, teaching them how to cook. Because, all right, you're going to get better in the water fasting, but what's going to happen when you go home if you don't have the tools to put them into work? So for me, that's the most important part. Yes, you may be able to reverse your disease and get much better and lose weight, but you need to know what to do when you get back home so you can implement everything you've learned in an effective way, right? I think that's where we mostly struggle as human beings. So before we begin, I'm going to give you some strategies you might heard before about healthy eating and lifestyle, but I'm going to put them in a way so you can effectively use them, and it's a nice flow, and then you're successful, right? But before we begin, I'm going to discuss how can we, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the data about the current health status of the children in the United States and in Puerto Rico. And we're going to learn how some of these causative factors that have driven our future generation to where they are, and how can we modulate these factors, these causative factors that have driven our generation, our present, our future generation, to high risk of mortality and morbidity. So we're going to choose today overweight and obesity because we know they have the far-reaching effects in our society. Not only it's a huge global expense, it's around $2 trillion, but we know it's associated with major causes of death and disability, and we are going to start recognizing that it's a rising epidemic worldwide. Children and youth overweight and obesity. Also, thanks to the Global Burden Disease, a comprehensive study that was done in 2015, taking the data of 195 countries, we know that there's 608 million people obese. Not overweight, obese, and 108 million children as well. So the past 30 years, we've seen the prevalence of obesity rise from 5% to 18.5%. That's huge, right? And the rate of increase in child obesity has been greater than the rate of adult obesity. It's terribly sad. What does that mean? It means that these children will never know what it's like to be healthy, what it's like to be in your ideal weight. So almost 1 of 3 children are overweight or obese, and we know that the highest prevalence is in Hispanics and non-Black, but white people as well is included. And we know that excess body weight in children is associated with excess morbidity and excess body weight in adulthood. So what are the main causes, right? We've heard from Dr. Goldhammer, the addiction in food is the main cause, but there's other 2 very important factors, and is the behavioral and environmental factors. You guys probably heard of this. And the problem is that our social norms, which are implicit codes of action, right? They tell us what's appropriate to do when we are out and about, when we're in a family gathering, when we're in a restaurant with friends. They're perceived standards, these social eating norms. They constitute what is appropriate for us to consume. What does that mean? It means that you go to a restaurant with friends and they're all ordering what? Animal products or high processed foods. It could be vegan food, but it could be terribly high in fat and sugar and flour, right? And then you feel like that you have to kind of order something similar because that is our social eating norms. You know what I'm talking about? The other day somebody was saying, I go to a family gathering and I don't want to be rejecting everything that's there because I don't want them to feel bad and I don't want to feel disapproved. And we end up eating what they're eating as well, right? And they're so potent and pervasive, these social norms. So of course, us as humans, we're a highly developed capacity to learn from others. Children learn from their parents, right? We learn from our neighbor, from their doing, from our teachers. So we're constantly learning from others as part of our human capacities. So when we are approved, it feels really good. We feel rewarded. And when we're disapproved, it's aversive. We feel like we're being punished. I know you all guys know what I'm talking about because that is one of the main reasons why we eat the way we are. We're eating. So the problem with social norms, it's not that social norms are bad because the Okinawans, their social norms are what? A high plant-based diet. So they probably go to their neighbor's house and they're eating, rice and beans, etc. But our social norms, what? They're modulated by inducements that discourage what? Physical activity and encourage overnutrition. So those are our social norms. How can we defeat that? How can we manage that if what's around us is stating that not doing any physical activity and overeating is the right thing to do? So this is what happened to me, and I know it's happened. Sometimes I think Puerto Rico is different from the States, but it's pretty much the same. I hear your questions. Really, it's nothing, it's just really the same thing. And this is what happened with me growing up. I grew up, had a nanny, and she, in Puerto Rico, at least my nanny, would make me eat all my food. So if I didn't finish my plate, you couldn't go play. So I learned to overeat. That was normal for me. Feeling bloated, inflamed, digestive issues, that was normal. Having a meal and feeling flat and empty, that meant that I did not finish, that I was not full, that was not right. So I grew up, my dad's American, he's from California, he's a huge guy, 6'3", obese, and my mom is like this tall and tiny and skinny, very healthy woman. And when we would go to family gatherings, because we have, Hispanics, we have tons of cousins. I have like 60 cousins, 12 aunts and uncles. That's from my mom's side only. So we would go to the family gatherings. It would be like a huge party, the table's full of food, right? And this is what would happen. I would go and try to eat, and I was always overweight. And my mom was always behind me like a police. Don't eat that, like you shouldn't be eating that, right? Because she was skinny and she was slender and she wanted me to look like her. And it would bother me so much. I hated that from her. Now I'm so grateful, right? Because I would have probably ended up like my father. And my family would say this, let her eat what she wants. Let her enjoy her childhood. She's just 8 years old. She's just big bone. Look at her dad. He's a big bone guy. He's American. That's normal. Or, don't be putting her in any diets. She's small. She's 10 years old, 12. Let her enjoy her life, right? That's just baby fat. Chubby means what? Good health. I was born chubby. I was chubby when I was raised. All the way till recently, I would say. So these are the consequences that you're going to see if you're overweight or obese. It affects different factors in your life. So yes, we know the physical health factors, cardiovascular disease and cancer and glucose intolerance. Many of the doctors this weekend have reminded you about that. And then we have the functional factors. This mobility limitations, disability, unemployment, reduced productivity, right? We have reduced academic performance, and then we have the psychological factors, which I think are the worst, because like Dr. Lim said, you remember him up here? Until today it still affects him. It stays with you forever. Stigma, negative stereotyping, discrimination, and others. So this is what's happening nowadays, obesity among youth. It's on the rise, and we see that the biggest rise is on 12 to 19 years of age. And I just want to mention this because I have patients that their kids are 8 or 9 and they're slim, they have a terrible diet, and they think, they're their ideal weight, they can still eat this way, but probably they're going to end up with the issue we have now, that they get overweight and obese when they're 12 and 19. So this is for the adults because we do need to remember that parental weight is one of the predictors of obesity in children and adolescents. So we find that children from families with obese parents were at significantly higher risk of obesity compared to children of overweight parents. So if you have one obese parent, you have 50% chance that the kid's going to end up being obese. And if you have both of your parents overweight or obese, you have 80% chance that your kid is going to end up overweight or obese. So yes, we're on the rise, pretty high numbers there. Yes, Hispanics, we win the gold medal, not in the women, but white people too, and Asians as well. So the trends are rising. Sometimes you go, and when you're researching, you find people saying that there's a plateau. There's no plateau. Yes, there's a little increase from 2008, 2010, but if you look back 10, 20 years ago, we were in 13.9, now we're almost at 20%, and look at the adults, almost a 10% rise. So, chronic illnesses in children, we see that 40% of our children have poor cholesterol levels. We see that the incidence of type 2 diabetes has increased to 25 to 45%. And we see that overweight and obesity are associated with increased risk of at least 13 different types of cancer. And of course, overweight and obesity are accounted for 40% of all cancers diagnosed in 2014. So even an 11-pound increase, which is typically what people increase in a cruise or in a vacation, and when it's just 10 pounds, that's associated with increased risk for overweight-related cancers. There's no escape. We shouldn't be overweight, we shouldn't be obese. So what will I eat, doctora? So what should I be eating then? I don't want to be overweight. I don't want my kids to be overweight. I don't want my grandchildren to be overweight, right? I want them to be healthy. I don't want them to suffer from the psychological factors and others. So if we look at the guidelines, this is very general, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, what are they saying? They're saying that if you appropriately plan a vegan diet based on what? Healthful and nutritionally adequate, you'll have benefits for prevention or reversal of chronic diseases. But it says there, nutritionally adequate. And it's fantastic for all stages of life. For babies and children and grown-ups and athletes and everything. And then if we go to the mainstream guidelines from the USDA, right, from the government, my plate, right, and the USDA dietetic guidelines, what do they say? Nutrients-dense foods are a foundation of healthy eating. And they tell us to the top 3 listed foods that they have are vegetables, grains, whole fruits, reduce your refined products and salt, and get on with your physical activity. It's everywhere. This information is everywhere. So, what are the nutritionally dense foods? These are foods that do not have a ripple effect that causes disease or high cause mortality. So there are only fruits and vegetables and whole grains and legumes. And in Puerto Rico, we have a separate section. We got our root vegetables are, have you guys heard of taro root? And yuca, and dalbilla, and yame, and yes, sweet potatoes and potatoes, but we have this variety of root vegetables, and that is a staple in our cuisine every day, lunch and for dinner, every single day. And of course, a lower intake, but of nuts and seeds. You don't want to sprinkle that every day in every meal or in your snacks. It's more for maybe for dinner, a dressing, so you can keep a low-fat, plant-based diet. So, this is the reality. Now we're going to get our gloves on and we're going to talk about the strategies. This is what's happening. You know, I see a lot of patients and they come to the clinic and they say, Doctor, I don't know why my kid doesn't want to eat vegetables. He doesn't even want to eat raisins. Can you imagine that? Raisins are so easy to eat. So I say, what are you doing? Well, I don't know, Doctora, because I eat healthy. I don't know where he's getting it from. And it's so funny because we say that, but that's not really what's happening. You know, you need to be consistent because whatever you're doing, your kid is going to mimic you, right? So this is really what's happening. These are the favorite excuses I hear every single day in my platform, social media, or my patients for lifestyle changes. They tell me, Doctora, it's not my fault. It's that when they go to the grandparents' house, that's where they screw up. It's the grandparents, Doctora. They just don't get it. They want to feed them whatever they want. They want to spoil them, right? No. It's the food at school. That one's classic. You know, it's that when they go to school, the lunch they serve at school, it's, and that's what they eat. Delegating the responsibility on your children. Right? The third one is there's no time for cooking. I like this one because at least they're being honest. There's no time, Doctora, I'm driving, I pick them up at school, I'm exhausted, I get home, I don't want to cook. Forget that, I'm just going to order something or open a package and put it in the microwave. And then healthy is expensive, right? Because we've heard that. People think that the healthy foods are the ones that say gluten-free and organic, right? And then no idea how to prepare healthy foods. That's another one. I just don't know how to saute without oil. I don't know how to make this. I don't know how to make that. So forget it. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, right? And the last one, I don't know why my kid eats that way because I eat healthy, doctora. I eat really healthy. I don't know where he's learning that. I don't know who he's mimicking. Yes. Well, I don't believe any of those excuses. I do tell them I believe them, but I really don't believe them because I know the truth. Because I have a 6-year-old, and I see patients, and I go out, and I look what people are doing. And this is the first exercise I do with my patients. I tell them, all right, how many homemade meals do you make? Well, there's 3 meals a day. So how many meals is that a week? 21. What if you eat snacks? The other day somebody said, I like to have my mid-morning snack, and my afternoon snack. That's 5 meals. 5 times 7, what is that? 35. How many of those are not prepared at home? And let me remind you, prepared at home means that you took the vegetable cutter and you had a knife and you actually cut the produce. It's not that you took the Trader Joe's burrito dish and you put it in the microwave. That does not count as homemade meal. I do have to say that because I do hear it for real. Like, this is no joke. So how many of those? You'll be surprised. You have to do this exercise with your partner. If you're a grandmother, you should do this with your son or your daughter because it will put a clear picture of what are your dietary habits, your pattern. All right, and then what happens? Yes, lunch at school counts like eating out. So your kids are eating breakfast out. If you give them a muffin or whatever package, then they're having lunch at school, which is a meal that's considered not homemade. And then they have money and they go to this, I don't know how it's here, but in Puerto Rico, in front of every school, there's an old guy, a really cute old guy with all the affordable junk food you can imagine. And then what happens? At 3 o'clock out of school, we go there and we eat. That's what I used to do. So our children are so exposed. No wonder the statistics are rising. They're eating tons of meals outside the home. They're pretty much all junk food. And then they get home because mom and dad are what? Tired. I mean, I identify because I bring my kid after the days were at outpatient, and I'm exhausted. You know, you're in traffic, and they have to pick up your son, and then you have to drive home, and then make dinner, you know. It's intense, right? So the first strategy you need to implement to be successful and have a stable and consistent, healthful home is what? What is that book, Rosamo?
Routine.
What? It's not the Bible.
I said a recipe.
A recipe book? You're close. Education! Guys, you started this, so you're here. Give yourself a big hug and give yourself some credit. Nurture your brain with your educational resources. You have to do this. I'm not talking that you're going to go to all the plant-based conference throughout the year and try to no, you don't need to do that. Choose 1 or 2 that you like, or there's so much information. There's so many YouTube videos, and Facebook Lives. Education is a process, but is a result. So as you're learning, as you did this weekend, and you're still going to keep learning, what's going to happen? You're going to have great results from whatever you've acquired this weekend, because you will implement some of these in your daily life, even if it's one of them. Second of all, this will affect your social network, because you remember social norms, what we spoke about earlier, how they affect us? Now we can affect our social norms. We can influence with our education the social norms, so they're what? Modulated. Yes or no? Also, you learn how to access information. Let me tell you, anybody can read studies. You know, anybody can go to PubMed and do all that research. But how do you access the information? How do you understand that ability that you learned this weekend? Because you need to learn how to discern the information. Some information, they use certain studies so they can get certain results. Some have a conflict of interest, right? They're sponsored by the dairy industry or whatever, right? So you need to learn how to read this material so you can know which one's not correct, which one's false, right? And you've learned this weekend some tools of how to do that, right? From all the great doctors. Yes or no? Yes. So you're going to increase agency and self-efficacy. Of course, your cognitive skills are going to increase. And if you ever are in doubt, just go to the population studies. Has anybody here seen the Blue Zone movie or have read the book, Blue Zones? Yeah. The Okinawans. Yeah. We've heard of the Okinawans. They're so famous. Do they even know they're that famous? The Loma Linda community. So go back to them. What are they doing? When you have somebody, a keto guy or a paleo guy, trying to challenge your views, what are the populations that have the longest, right? They're living the longest, they're the healthiest. What are they doing? They have a high plant diet, they're sleeping, they're what? They're exercising, they have a good community, people that surround them, that love them, right? They're, like Dr. Sabatino said, under low stress environments and situations. So that's what we need to go back to. So if you get confused, just go back to those population studies. So the second strategy, so we're getting educated. What is the second strategy? What is that? What do you think that little... I try my best to get something that represents the strategy, but I'm not like the best with all the cyber stuff. My husband's the one that helps me. What's that? Taking notes? Yes! We need to plan effectively. So do you think you're going to go back on Monday home and be like, all right, I'm going to do this, and everything's going to, all the ideas and everything's just going to appear, and everything's going to be perfect, I'm going to be a master. Really? No, that's not what's going to happen. You're going to have to plan. You're going to have to get organized. I'm talking here about families. I'm talking here about grandparents, or if you live by yourself, this applies at what as well? You need to plan. You need to identify first the whole plant foods your family enjoys. So this is what I do with my patients. I give them a list of all the fruits and vegetables and grains and legumes and nuts and seeds, and they scroll through the list. And they're like, well, Timmy likes apples, and Mariana likes oranges, and mom likes this, and dad likes that, and they go through the whole list. Sometimes they're surprised because they come to the clinic saying they don't like anything. And when they go through the list, what's happening? Mariana, yeah, look, we have choices. They actually like stuff. So this is really good because sometimes we take it for granted, but we scroll through the whole list of fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds and legumes and starches, and then they see what's happening. Oh yeah, our daughter does like some stuff. Our son does like some stuff. Mom and dad as well. So after you do that, I suggest you script like a general menu. You don't have to write down the exact recipes, but just have an idea of what your week is going to look like. Well, Monday, my daughter likes chickpeas and they like broccoli. So Monday we can make some broccoli and chickpeas and potatoes. And you have a general script of what you're going to expect during the week. You need this because Tuesday, Thursdays maybe are your stressful days. You get home and you don't want to cook. You don't know what to cook. And you're a huge mess. And what happens? You go back to what? Your old habits. So easy to go back to them. Open that special cabinet with the junk food, and that's what we want to avoid. So you have your script, and then you want to stay away from what? Packaged foods. All of them, except it's a packaged legumes, right, or grains. And learn how to read labels. Honestly, so easy. You just have to turn the box and read the ingredients, and if something doesn't sound right, you do what?
Put it back. Put it back on the shelf.
Right? And keep it simple. Some parents like to go crazy. I'm going to make lasagna and I'm going to make them this. Kids don't care about that stuff. I don't know your kids, but the kids I know, they like simple. A broccoli, some potatoes. You saw yesterday how to do the French fries made with sweet potatoes. So good, right? Delicious. And then you can just add maybe a bean or a grain. Children love simplicity, and you know what? You should exploit that the most you can. The simpler the better for your digestion, assimilation, elimination, and everything. And then plan a day to be creative. My husband, he's like the easiest guy. Like, baby, what do you want for dinner? Whatever, broccoli and salad and potatoes. And I'm like the kind of person that likes to like make it exciting. And on Sundays is like my day that I get to like relax. And I'm like, what should we do on Sunday? Babe, what should we do? What should we make? He's like, I don't care. He's not in there with me. So I have to make up, and I said, let's do Mexican. So then we make Mexican, but we stay inside what? Our parameters. I'm not going to take out the bottle of oil and salt and make a crazy dish, but on Sundays I do. I do make something fun, really healthy, different, and then Monday I go back to my simple eating of salads, steamed vegetables, a grain, or a starch, or a sweet potato or something. So the next one is what? What is that crowd of people? What? Family? Yeah. This is the moment where you actually communicate to the family. A lot of parents like to get on with this new lifestyle, but they dismiss the idea of including their children in their decision making. So you already got educated enough to sound as an intelligent person that can explain why this lifestyle works and we should be adapting it ASAP, right? Second, you plan already efficiently. You have a plan for the week. You know what you're going to do. You know what you're going to be preparing. Now the third is you're going to sit with your family intelligently so you don't sound like an idiot, right? You sit down with them and with your children and you tell them, listen, and you connect with them. And maybe Tim has asthma and he does a machine. Or maybe Mariana takes medication for something, or she's overweight. So you connect with your family. You say, listen, we've been confronting some health issues, and we've been learning this and this and that, and we really, mom and dad, we want to implement this in our household. And you connect with your family. And you do the best you can to express to them that these are the new things that are happening in the house. Okay, and we're going to take consideration of the things that you like, and we're going to make dishes that we love, but just healthy, and blah, 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 blah. You get the point? So this is really important. And you might have an adolescent that will be against everything you want to do, but you are setting new parameters at home. So it doesn't matter if the 15-year-old is against this. He can do whatever he wants maybe when he's out of the house, but inside of the house is what? We have the rules of healthy dietary patterns. All right? Just like you don't let cocaine and heroin go in the house, right? You said, well, these are the rules. You can eat that when you're outside of the house, and we're going to do the best to incline to your taste preferences. So if he loves pizza, you try to make the best you can to accommodate him and see what happens, right? So this is the other one. The fourth one is what? We go shopping, and this is how your fridge should look like. My fridge does not look like that because it takes skill to do this. I'm trying to do it, it's just not that easy. And this is what happens. You first have to clean your kitchen. You have to clean it. You have to get rid of everything, give it away to somebody that might use it, throw it away. Whatever you want, you have to clean and get rid of the unhealthy foods. You can't have that naughty cabinet with a lock in it. You can't do that. You know you're going to go back there, right? When you're feeling weak in this process. I'm telling you, if you clean your kitchen, you will not have any options to do what? To cheat. Really, you're really helping yourself. Second, do some urban planning. All right, this is my supermarket where I buy this. I buy my vegetables over here. I do hear this, I just don't know where to buy vegetables in Puerto Rico. People say this, there's no fruit, I don't know where to get it. It's so, what? No, that's not true. And if it was true, you do some urban planning. Well, I go to Costco for this, I go to this farmer's market, I go this for this and that. You know where to go, you know what to do. You're what? You're planning effectively. Third one is that you're going to develop a grocery shopping practice with who? or your grandchildren. Grandma, grandpa, you're gonna go shopping. You already did your little talk with your grandson. Maybe you included mom and dad, whatever you want to do. And they said, let's go shopping. What are your favorite fruits? What are your favorite vegetables? Let's do this. Empowering them, letting them make decisions, right? And please, you need to learn how to store fruits and vegetables. I hear this a bunch. Is that the fruit go bad? Oh, the fruit, if I buy fruit, nobody eats this, goes bad. How can it possibly go bad? There's a freezer. You peel the fruit, you put it in the freezer, you make smoothies, and with the vitamins you might be getting, you make ice creams. Has anybody done banana ice cream in the Vitamix? Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, it is.
Children love it. I don't care what the dietary habits they have, they will love that banana ice cream. You can put different fruits and toppings, it's so amazing. So learn how to dehydrate. If you have children or grandchildren, dehydrating is fantastic. Does anybody have a dehydrator here? It really is a great tool. You don't need it, but you put bananas in there. You know what I make that my son devours? Cinnamon rolls. Have anybody made these in the dehydrator? It's bananas cut on the long side. You dehydrate them, and then when they're like 8 hours of dehydration, you put date paste. You guys know what dates are? You make a paste and you put it on top of the banana and you roll them and you keep layering them, and then you make this roll of bananas and you put it back in the dehydrator, and then that dehydrates for like 8 hours, and it's incredible. It's chewy, caramelly. Children love it. So I hope I make you hungry. The dehydrator is a great tool when you have children. I do vegetable wraps without any flour, hardly any nuts and seeds, and I make wraps, and I make different dried fruit, and make cookies. It's fantastic. Anyways, always have ripe fruit in front of the children on the table. This is another thing. When your children come from somewhere, what is going to be their pattern? To eat something probably detrimental for them, right? So what do? We have their favorite fruits that we already had scanned through the list. Tim likes grapes. So what do I have on the table when they come back from plane? Grapes, bananas, or the special oatmeal cookie from the Kathy Fisher's book, right? That they can see it, and it will be the first thing available for them, so they can what? Be tempted and motivated to eat it, right? And homemade snacks available. I've already talked about that. So what's the next one? It's not get your own chef. I know that's what it looks like, but it's actually cooking is the new happy hour. Honestly, if you like to eat out, which I know most people love to do every weekend, that is not and will never be a good alternative for a healthy living. I don't care if you go to a plant-based restaurant or a vegan restaurant, the possibilities of there being oil and salt and sugar and flour are probably going to be what? High. Vegan food can be so terrible for you. It really can. I mean, my patients, a lot of them are vegan and they think they're so healthy, but they know they're not. But they think if it's vegan, it's what? It's healthy, and it's probably not, because it's full of oil and other stuff. So cooking needs to be your new happy hour. So what does that mean? For me, that means that when I get home from work, which I used to get really stressed out because I'm a multitasker, overachiever, workaholic, all of the above. And what happens? I get home from work and I'm like so stressed out, and I have my son and he's sick, so he's doing his thing and it's just crazy. And what happens when I get home is that cooking used to be like, oh, I'm going to do it, but I kind of hate it because I was so stressed out. So I had to change this. And what did I do? I changed it. I got home and I now put I don't cook anymore in my work clothes, so I change and I put music on, and I love carbonated water, so I put Perrier and I do like a drink and then I splash some lemon in it, and and I'm in a good mood, and I start cooking and I feel good and I have the music. If my son comes to bother me, because you know how children are, he'll come in, have to fight or whatever, I'll be like, I'm in my zone. So if I need to put TV on just for a minute or give him a book, yes. So I can be in the zone and enjoy the cooking, because cooking is so important. It's for greater purpose. It's like Dr. Greger said, it's our survival tool. What happens when you cook? Number one, you encourage your kids to do what? To cook with you. I got these knives for my kid, and he cooks sometimes with me, and he enjoys the process, and he learns the importance of cooking. What happens next? You control the quality of the food. When you go to a restaurant and you tell them, listen, I don't want any oil, I don't want any sugar, any salt. I don't know you guys, but when I worked at restaurants and we had a picky customer, that spit and other stuff I'm not going to mention. So in your home, you control the quality, and you can actually accommodate to the taste preferences of your family. So you get to make what? The chickpea or whatever they like. And what happens then? You decrease the consumption of healthy dishes, because what happens when you go to eat at a restaurant? Maybe you order a salad, but what did your husband order? Maybe you order onion rings or some bread, and what happens? We end up doing what? I just have like a slice of that, I just have a bite of this and that, and what happens? We activate the addiction patterns in our taste buds, and as well our bad dietary habits from the past start to rise up. So develop some food preparation knowledge skills. This will help you. What I mean by that is kind of like learn how to do basic things. You need to learn how to saute without oil. That's kind of important. You have to know how to steam vegetables. You should learn how to make a dressing or one or two, because if you're going to avoid oil and salt, you will need to be kind of able to make dressings so your vegetables are not boring and just, like you're excited to eat them. So you want to learn those, and they're very basic. And you can actually go to YouTube and they'll teach you how to make that. We have so much information out there. And the last one on these, be creative and get empowered. Learn to be the influencer in your family. So when you teach your children and when you make cooking a staple in your home, you become a strong influencer for your family and your community. And of course, saving money, taking cooking classes, all that stuff's great. And this is important. Transform your kitchen into facilitating your new patterns. Now, when I started this journey, I bought so many things. I have like 2 juicers, I have like 3 Vitamix, I have like 3 magic bullets. I'm not kidding. I have a popcorn maker, I have 2 waffle makers, I have expensive knives. I don't know why I did this. At that moment, yes, it was necessary. I have this sterilizer, I have one that is like this, I have another one that's like that, because I bought the good one and then the new one came out, I know this one's better, so I thought that one, and you do that, and that's part of the process, in your transition to getting better in your dietary habits and lifestyle factors. You do that. You spend money on some things, but then as you evolve inside this process, you realize, I really don't need any of that. Now I have my expensive knives that I never use. I use my Costco knives. And I have my cutter, my regular vegetable cutter. And then I use my Vitamix, my Instapot, because it's so great. Like you get home, like in a rush, and you put something in the Instapot, which is like a pressure cooker, and you leave it there and you don't have to even worry about it. It just cooks everything by itself. And the oven. So those are my gadgets. Oven, Instapot, Vitamix, and a pan with a lid for the vegetables. Super simple. Now I have 2 huge drawers, and if you open them, all the gadgets are stuffed in there, which I'm thinking I might have to sell at some point because they're just taking up too much space. And the last one I want to touch is that now that you're cooking, bring stuff home to school and work. And start that practice with your children. My 6-year-old was raised in this lifestyle, so he doesn't know any better. He just knows that mommy always makes food for him for school. And in Puerto Rico, the public school system is not like here. Everybody here goes to public school, right? Most people. Over there, you don't want to do that. You want to go to private school. And when you put him in private school, obviously you have to bring all the meals, right? Or buy them at school, which you would expect that the meals would be really good because it's really expensive private school, but they're not. It's hamburgers and hot dog and pizza, all that stuff that they sell here. So he's always had food from home. But this happened recently. He's in a new school this past year, and every Friday at the beginning, he would bring all this candy. And he would bring it because he doesn't eat it. He's never had candy in his life. But he thinks it's very colorful and pretty, so he brings it home and he has like a spot in his drawer where he puts it. And he thinks they're like toys because they're like orange and, like they come in these beautiful packages, right? So it kept happening every week. So I ended up going to school, not to like accuse a teacher or anything. I said, hey, teacher, what's going on Fridays? I see that Asher always brings all this candy. And she said, yeah, Friday we do a celebration at school. Like it's Friday, so we give out candy every single Friday. And I was like, oh, okay. So what do you think I did? Obviously, I didn't say anything to her because this is not a person that will ready for a change. But I said, oh, okay, great. Thank you for letting me know. And what happened next Friday? I brought him some fun snacks. So when they were giving out the candy in the classroom, which was in the middle of the day, he had the fun snacks he could take out. So I made him like raw brownie, I made him like a carrot cake, and he had that snack he could eat while the kids were going crazy with all the sugar. But he had something that he thought it was fun and different, and he was able to connect in a certain way with the other children of a happy activity, a fun, crazy activity, but he still kept what? Those healthy choices. And he knows, he's like, great, I can have fun like the other children, but I get to do it healthy because we've already done what? Education. He's been getting educated since he was born. Literally, in a very simple way. Every time a year passes, I can be a little more complex. So he gets educated. He understands what's happening. When we go to a birthday party, what happens? I don't call the mom anymore and ask her, what kind of cake are you guys going to have? I used to do that. I used to call the mom and be like, so what kind of cake you guys are making? Oh, chocolate. Okay, great. And I would make like a carob cake for him. I don't do that anymore. I told him, listen, at the beginning, when we started with this, when he was a little older, I said, listen, Asher, we're going to go to a birthday party. And there's going to be a lot of different foods that you're not used to seeing. I'm going to bring some food, so, just when you see that, don't criticize anybody. Don't, don't say, that's unhealthy, because he knows. Just, I have snacks for you, let me know when you're hungry. So when we go to a birthday party, and it's birthday time, right, the cake time, what does he do? He runs to me, Mom, give me my carob cake. Because we don't do chocolate. And he's like, and then he takes it out and he eats it in front of the other kids so happy and joyfully, right? And that really, it's something that if you start, you will be the master of this. The last one would be this one. And this is where the reality comes in. This is the last strategy, is that you need to love yourself. I hear this all the time. I'm trying for my son to eat healthy. I'm trying for him to eat this and that. And I say, I know she's not eating healthy because of her physical appearance. And I ask her, are you eating the way you want your child wants you to eat? Well, I'm still making changes. You're not. Honestly, you need to think of yourself first before you implement anything on your children. It's contradictory. Contradictory? It is. You're telling him you need to eat your peas, you need to eat your carrots, and then mom's over here sometimes eating fries and eating animal products. Children do not know how to discern. They see what they see and they think that's the right thing to do. You need to be the first consistent model. You need to represent, which means you need to get educated, you need to start practicing, you need to cleaning out your kitchen, and you need to change your habits, and then worry about your children, because that's when it's going to come really easy. Because they're used to seeing you doing that constantly. Now what happens? They know that's what we do at home. They know this is a new household norm. So take care of yourself. And last but not least, visualize your results. And this is more like spiritual stuff. I follow like a lot of law of attraction leaders. I love it. Meditation, all that stuff. I'm into that stuff. It's helped me a lot with my stress. And let me tell you, this is something I do, and it works for me like a charm. When I pick up my son from school, 5:30-ish, a bunch of traffic, I pick him up at Abu's house, which is my mother, which I've trained her to feed him the way that he eats. So she knows that she can't be feeding him any salt or bread or any of that. So I pick him up, and like I said, I can get a little stressed out, right? And what I do, and I've learned to do, is that as I'm driving to home, I start visualizing how it's going to portray when I get there. So I start thinking, when I get home, I'm going to feel really good, I'm going to feel really relaxed. I see myself cooking the meal, and whatever I make, Ash is going to like, and I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to be like this and like that, and when we serve dinner, he's going to enjoy his meal, and he's going to love it, and we're going to have a great time. And honestly, 8 out of 10, that's usually what happens. It really is so powerful to state your results before you get there and set yourself for success in here, mentally, right? And from there, I'm telling you, it will happen. So if you're a grandmother, frustrated grandmother with your daughter, your son, just feeding them terrible and they don't get it, just visualize and implement everything you've learned in a wise way, right? And it will happen. It will eventually happen. So this is us in social media. That's my son. He's super cute. He looks like me. And this is an old picture. If you want to learn Spanish, I would encourage you to visit our Facebook page. My husband does Facebook Live in English, and we do all sorts of topics in a weekly basis. We're like machines. So also we're on Instagram, and you guys know about Instant Story? No? Yes? Well, anyways, if you're into Instagram, we do tons of lifestyle shots of recipes of what I'm eating, of trips and tips and tricks for daily living. And of course, we're on YouTube, and that's our website. Check it out. Back to the Garden PR.
Is it in English?
It's in Spanish, but if you copy paste the information and put it in Google Translate, we're building our English website, but you can always Google it. Yes.
You can't read the red for your YouTube channel. What's that say?
It says Back to the Garden PR for Puerto Rico. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much.